Welcome back, everybody, to Halakha time. Today we're going to discuss if you're allowed to pay a government official in order to get better service. Wow, a hot question. We're told in the Torah that you're not allowed to receive a bribe. Who's not allowed to receive a bribe? A judge, a dayan. A dayan is not allowed to receive a bribe, and this is paskened in the halakha. The Rambam brings it down. It's written in the Shulchan Aruch. A dayan is not allowed to receive a bribe, even in order to rule correctly and in favor of the correct person. To rule wrongly, you don't need a posuk to say. There's another posuk that says that a judge has to rule correctly. But even if the person who's right were to pay you a bribe in order to rule that he's right, you're not allowed to take the bribe if you're a judge. Not only does the receiver transgress the prohibition of receiving bribes, the person that gives him the bribe doesn't get out of it either. They've transgressed the prohibition of lifnei iver lo titen michshol, putting a stumbling block in front of the blind. The dayan here is blind if he doesn't realize that he's receiving a bribe. The person who gives it to him also did this transgression of putting a stumbling block in his way. Explains the Pilpulei Harifta that Pischei Tshuva brings him down, that this doesn't just apply to dayanim. It also applies to anyone, any community leader or person that is providing service for the community. It also applies to them if their job is to make decisions. If they have to decide between two people, who's going to get this? If, let's, for example, there's a tender, a government tender, and there's a man there whose job is to decide who's going to get the job. So that's a form of judgment. For him to receive a bribe is exactly the same as if a dayan were to receive a bribe. He has transgressed an issur of receiving bribes, and the person who gave it to him, the bribe, has transgressed, putting a stumbling block in front of the blind. But that's where. But let me just finish this. What if the other side has given him a bribe? You know the other side has given him a bribe, and now you want to give him a bribe just to make things a bit more equal. That you're allowed to do. If you're giving the bribe so that to offset a bribe that was given by the other side, then you'd be allowed to do that. Also, we're told that in a case years ago, this doesn't really apply nowadays, but in previous times, when if there was a Jew and a non-Jew that would come before a non-Jewish decision maker, a non-Jewish judge, then it would always be the non-Jew that would win. So would you be allowed to give a bribe in such a case in order that the judge would just look at you at least and give you some consideration? Also there we're told by a person that he would be allowed to give the bribe to the non-Jew. The non-Jews, of course, are also forbidden by the Torah from receiving bribes. It's part of the 7 mitzvot that were given to all the Bnei Noach, all the non-Jews, that they have a system of laws, of judges, of lords, which would mean also not taking bribes. Okay, but what if this government official, doesn't have to decide between two people? He's not deciding, it's making a decision. It's not a tender. It's just something that he's supposed to be providing anyway, but it's going to take a long time, and so you just want to get it a little bit quicker. You want to get him to move himself, to do it a bit quicker for you. So that wouldn't be a question of a bribe. It's certainly a very sad situation that you'd have to do things like that, but that's not considered as a bribe. The bribe is where he's making a decision between two people, and because of the bribe, he's going to decide in one particular way. But what some people call grease payments, just so that things should go smoothly, and you should get whatever it is that you deserve to get anyway, then that's not a question of a bribe. It's very sad that should be needed to be done, but that's not the same thing. Also, if you would have to pay someone to deal with the situation for you, to get you the permission or whatever it is that you needed, then that also wouldn't fall into the category of being a bribe. So the answer, if I can pay a government official to get better service, if it's just to get better service, yes, you could. If it's in order for him to make a decision in your favor, even if you deserve to get whatever it is that he has to decide, you wouldn't be allowed. That's the issur of giving a bribe. As I said, the issur is not just to receive a bribe, there's an issur to give a bribe, the issur of putting a stumbling block in front of the blind. May I just say that in the case of the government official, that you're paying him just to get better service, for him to do things a little bit quicker than he would normally do them, I don't mean by putting someone else to the bottom of the pile and putting you in their place, right? And not only that, but even though I'm not necessarily transgressing anything by giving him the money, he's certainly not doing his job. And he's got a problem with his employer. His employer should be firing him if he's taking money from people to do what he's being paid to do anyway. Thank you.